Good morning. Oh, no, we are all here. Mark's like, you're on, Nicole.
It's going to be one of those mornings.
Oh, there you go.
Good morning, Mark.
Hello. Hi.
Hello. Hi. Thanks for running the board for us. Good morning, listeners. This is Off the Shelf. I am Nicole Fowles, and we're going to tell you all about the things happening in library land, but greater library land this morning.
Bookland.
Exactly.
We're going bookland.
Bookland. That's right. Because Molly, he is back as our co-host
Good
in our
morning.
co-host chair. And our guest in the station this morning is Jody Everett, owner of Beanbag Books in downtown Delaware.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
We're so happy to have you, Jody. Longtime lover of your bookstore, even way back when it was Fundamentals and owned by Miss Tammy Furlong. So we are just so happy that you could join us in the studio this morning and talk a little bit about Beanbag Books.
Great. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's been fun. We were just
Yes.
watching some clips from the Fire Aid LA concert performance last night. Had a lot of great things happening with that. A lot of great donations that came in.
It's always great.
Millions
Always great.
of dollars I saw just right off the bat. You know, you two. Hey, here's $1 million. Thanks, you
Yeah.
two. Thanks, Bono.
You too. Bono is always looking out for people. I feel
Exactly.
like that's just his MO.
Right. All right. Well, let's talk books. Have you read, listened to, watched
I have
anything?
been listening.
All right.
So I don't know if I've talked about it on the radio, but last year I got a high blood pressure diagnosis, something very common for most of us. And, you know, high blood pressure runs, my dad had high blood pressure, runs my family, and I wasn't personally ready. Nothing wrong with going on medication. I wasn't ready to start it yet.
Right.
So last year, I looked into what healthy diets could help me, and I got involved in the DASH diet to lower my high blood pressure, try to start working on my cholesterol. And so I did really well. I lost about 28 pounds last year.
Whoop, whoop.
And then my birthday hit in October, and then these holidays came up.
I hate that.
I know, and I got distracted. And it's not that I gained.
Every year.
Every year.
It happens.
And you know, there's just something to like the pumpkin spice latte calling to you, and then like your favorite holiday foods. We all talk about it. The beautiful thing is I didn't gain weight, but I stopped losing, and I'm not quite where I want my blood pressure, my cholesterol. I still really want to get that. So here in the new year, I'm not a New Year's resolution girl. You need to be doing that year round
Yeah,
because
for sure.
then you just burn out too quick. But I
Right.
was like, I need a refresh. I really was enjoying my diet. And what I've been following is the DASH diet, which the National Institute of Health originally came up with this specifically to try to help people with high blood pressure, cholesterol. It's a very common sense diet. So the book I read, my refresher or listened to,
Yeah.
which you can get this on Libby, is the DASH diet, Younger You. And the idea of this version of the DASH diet, there are tons of books, tons of recipe books. I've been checking out of the library, bought a couple because let's face it, when I cook, I spill. I'm not a neat, nice
Yeah, I feel
cook.
bad when I check out cookbooks from the library. They don't come back the same
They
way
do
that
not
they left.
come back
Yeah.
the same way. This book that I could listen to really is about how eating healthy makes you look younger and which foods do what. DASH, by the way, stands for, I just love how nerdy this is, dietary approaches to stop hypertension.
Okay. So
So,
it really has
and-
the health built in.
Immediately when I went back 3 months later, I had lowered my blood pressure. I'm still doing check-ins, still checking my cholesterol, which is really hard to lower quickly. It lowered pretty quickly. So if you're looking for some ways to do this non-medicated, and trust me, this is not me saying medicate away if you need to.
Yeah.
But this is just another way you can do it. This also talks about making your skin healthier with probiotics. Red wine is okay.
Hey.
And if you don't drink it, they highly suggest make a red wine face mask for yourself. And she tells you how in this book.
Okay.
Oh, yes. She did break my heart a little bit, though. So my one little sin has been having a Chobani Flip yogurt.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to get more calcium in. Did you know that that's made of Greek yogurt, and Greek yogurts don't have the calcium of regular yogurt or kefir?
Oh.
And I listened to that part as I was leaving the radio station last week, and I had to
You had a momentary depression.
I had to turn it off and call my mom and
No.
go, Mom, did you know this? And she's checking like the Greek yogurt in her thing compared to another yogurt in her thing. And she's like, this is looking like it might be true, Molly.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, but I am feeling already motivated again. Hey, it's pretty simple. Have healthy meats. Try to eat fish 3 times a week.
Right.
Very little meat, though. 75% of that plate should be vegetables and fruits. And if you want books to just inspire you, that's what this is. But you know what to do. You just need that help, that motivation. Books like this tend to help me. This is also a short book. Only about 4 to 5 hours.
I will listen.
Yeah, it's a really good listen. And again, the name is The Dash Diet, Younger You, she says, Shed 20 Years and Pounds in Just 10 Weeks by Marla Heller.
All right. Well, thanks, Marla, and thanks, Molly. That's a really great, and that's great. It's a great recommendation to, not necessarily live the New Year's resolution life, but just to live a goal-setting life in general. It helps you kind of prevent that burnout.
And I'm going to slide on and off. This is what life is.
Right.
I mean, there are days that I can exercise, and there are days that I am just really glad that I made it till a bedtime I'm allowed to have. So do what you can do.
6 p.m. is not acceptable.
No, and the truth for me is I have found a lot of ways to do this with microwave vegetables.
Yeah, right.
Steaming and using a silpat with fish. Those are my magic. I don't have time to do all that fancy cooking. If you give me more than 5 ingredients, it's not happening tonight.
Maybe not.
It's not happening. So it's just some common sense for you. If you're trying to get that little healthier go, Dash Diet. And it really has gotten that blood pressure down, which is what really mattered to me.
Way to go. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
On all of your success with your health. Jody, I know that you probably read a lot, but also as a business owner, you maybe don't have an opportunity to. What do you actually get a chance to read? What's something you've read lately?
Well, one that I've read lately that I really enjoyed for the adults is called Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson. And it is about, she's an adult, but she has ancestors who were part of the South Carolina slave potters.
Yes.
And they found, and they had a pot that they that was really important to them and their family. And so it kind of just talks about that history of the potters and her history and how it kind of incorporated into a New England life in a community that necessarily didn't welcome Black people originally. And so it was a very good book, and I learned a lot. And it's a little bit of a mystery to it. There was a person in their family that had gotten killed, and so they didn't know who that was. And so there's a mystery aspect, there's a historical aspect. So it was a really great read.
Did I miss? Is it like nonfiction memoir, or is this fiction?
No, it's fiction.
Oh, this is fiction. Okay.
Yes, and then at the very end, there's author notes that talks about the historical
research
relevance.
fiction, historical fiction. Yeah, exactly. I love a good historical. Well, I didn't love a good historical fiction until I found the right authors who, write it right with a good story within the context.
And this one is set in modern day, so you get a little bit of both.
Yeah.
So you get that modern day mystery as well as the historical through several generations.
And so that's called Good Dirt by Charmaine Wilkerson?
Yes.
Is that one of your book club titles that you do?
It unfortunately is not.
Oh. I was going to say, I know you
be in the future now.
I haven't read my book club titles yet. But we do have an historical fiction for that. Would you like me to go through the book clubs at this point?
Why don't we hold that as a tease for the second half of the show?
Oh, so, I like a good tease.
You'll have to stay tuned to hear more about book clubs at Beanbag.
Because you've got one book club I want to ask more about, so we'll leave you all waiting.
Well, I have a couple things to talk about this morning, but they're all picture books, so it'll go by pretty quickly, just as picture books do. But as I mentioned, the finalists for the Audis were announced through a press release a couple weeks ago, and I love listening to them. And I love finding, especially with picture books, how the picture book and the audio book complement each other, because that's a really special thing as opposed to text to word, as most older books for older adults and older readers go. But I've got a couple this morning, and I'll talk with the most unique one first. It's called Nothing, John Cage and 433 by Nicholas Day, and it's illustrated by two-time Caldecott medalist Chris Rashka. And Nothing, if you don't know anything about it, is the story of John Cage, who was a composer, and he composed lots of unique symphonies. His symphonies were 14 radios on a stage playing white noise. His symphonies were people playing the drums, but the percussive instruments were anything from sticks to tables to spoons, just creative uses of sound rather than what most people would typically call music. And so in Nothing, it's the story of a great debut concert that's going to happen by the pianist David Tudor, and everyone is there to hear his brand new composition by John Cage. And in 1952, he steps out and he sits down at the piano and he does nothing. And he does nothing for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. And the story of this great American composition is that the sound that happens in Nothing is not nothing. As the pianist, sits there and does nothing and checks his watch, you hear chairs squeak, you hear birds chirp, because this particular debut was going to be in a barn in the middle of kind of a wooded area. So you hear birds chirp. You hear lots of other sounds, coughs, squeaks, humps. People are not happy. They were expecting to hear like this masterpiece. And not a single note is ever played during the entire thing. So it's a really, really interesting book. This is true story. This actually did happen, and 433 was gone on to be performed in other venues as well. Rock bands performed 433, and so you got the sound of the crowd. And the fun thing about the performance is it's always different, and the crowd is the composer rather than the person who is the performer. So it's a really unique story, and listening to it on an audiobook in an audio setting is also incredibly unique too, because they add a lot of those sound effects and they utilize silence a lot. So where that could feel really uncomfortable, especially like in a radio setting, in a spoken word setting, oh my gosh, we don't want silence. This book really utilizes that.
And Chris Rashka is probably in my top 10 favorite illustrators. I even have a little print he, made in my house. But one of my favorite things when he does music, if you're listening along to the audio while you look at the pictures, you can feel the music and the illustrations. Visual learners, this book, I do not think this is just for kids.
Right.
It will blow your mind to see those together.
This one is really, really neat. The other one that I was dubious about this one, I will admit. It's called Coretta. It's the autobiography of Mrs. Coretta Scott King, written by Coretta Scott King. I think there was a longer autobiography that she wrote, and so I think this is an adapted version of it, because you'll see in the text when you read it, there are some kind of author's mechanisms that show that this sentence has been shortened, this sentence has been restructured. It's illustrated by Ikua Holmes. And when I opened it up at first, it is a picture book, but when I opened it up at first, there are a lot of words on the page. And I have strong feelings about picture books that have paragraphs. And I'm talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs.
You and I can do a whole show on this because I have other thoughts on it.
Oh, really?
I have a feeling I have some counter arguments.
That's fine. Yeah, well, and I think this book might have even, helped me to kind of, but paragraphs on the page. And I just was like, oh my gosh, what child is this written for? Because picture books, you think a particular age and what kind of, attention span do they have. But my 6-year-old daughter just recently did a unit on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and she's very interested in Dr. King. And when I brought this book home, she was so excited. She's like, you mean I get to learn another facet of this man through his wife? And I said, yeah, let's go ahead and listen to this audiobook with it together. The audiobook was phenomenal. 17 minutes. And my 6-year-old sat through it, engaged the entire time, was even privy enough with the words to know where-ish on the page they were and follow along. But the illustrations are gorgeous, so she could still follow along with that. And she retained so much about what Coretta was doing, while Martin was doing his things, that it completely proved me wrong. So I went in completely dubious, and I left 100% sold. So those are the two that I have this morning.
And I add to the argument that there is no age limit to reading aloud to your child. You should read aloud some of these picture books even to your 18-year-olds.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think there are a lot of studies that would support that with the continued literacy.
Yeah.
So
there might be barriers.
That.
Yeah, there might be barriers to picking it up. You might think like, oh, a 12-year-old is not going to want to go into the children's section and pick up a book that looks like this. So I think that could be a barrier. But take it from me. It's totally worth it. It gives another facet. It gives a more easy access to this autobiography of Coretta Scott King. And then the audiobook really just enhances it completely. So that was Nothing, John Cage and the 433 by Nicholas Day, and Coretta, the autobiography of Mrs. Coretta Scott King by Mrs. Coretta Scott King. So with that, we will go to a commercial break. Stay tuned. We'll be back on the other half to talk with Jody Everett of Beanbag Books in Delaware.
If you don't mind, before we go to break, I thought I'd take just a few seconds to enjoy a few seconds of the off-the-shelf version of 433. You guys are bad at this game.
We're really bad.
All right. Well, we gave you a tease before the break that Beanbag Books has more than just books. They have events and lots of things happening in their cozy store in downtown Delaware.
Your store would be perfect in a cozy mystery, which I don't know if you ever listened to the show, but I'm slightly obsessed. So sorry if Lloyd dies, I become a widow, and we can start writing my cozy mystery. I will be a regular character.
We don't want the murder in Jody's store, but like you can.
I mean, it depends on how long the series goes. Sometimes we can't avoid it, but I'll keep you safe.
Right.
There's a cat or
just
dog
outside.
involved, that'd be
There
great.
will be Maine Coon on a leash.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, they were already writing it.
I have a plan.
Well, the other things that happen are you've got lots of events happening in your store.
We do.
First, can you talk about the one, if you're listening live today, Friday, January 31st, what's happening tonight?
Tonight, Dogman premieres.
Yes.
The movie.
Such a big night.
Yes, and Dogman himself will be at the Strand this evening, 30 minutes prior to each showtime. So he'll be there at 5 p.m. and again at 8 p.m. for
great.
photos,
Yes.
and we'll have some books and plush and things for you to purchase if you don't own Dogman yet.
You need
or
to
the
own
newest
Dogman.
Yes, and then you can compare the book to the movie.
That's wonderful.
Yes, and then tomorrow.
I was going to say, there's something tomorrow too, right?
Tomorrow, if you are unable to come to see Dogman this evening at the Strand, he will be back at Beanbag Books tomorrow. And there'll be 4 opportunities throughout the day from 10:30 to 1:30 to come and meet Dogman.
That's amazing.
That is really amazing.
This is, of course, you're talking about the Strand Theater, again, another downtown Delaware mainstay staple. And so, yes, they have 2 showings. I have been researching them, 5:30 and 8:30 tonight, because my girls are the perfect target market
They
for
are
that.
at the perfect age.
Yes.
Also, having one of the 10 oldest theaters, cozy mystery. Come on,
Right.
Delaware, we're ready for this.
All right, it's going to be a downtown Delaware
It
series.
could be a series, yeah, right?
It really can be.
Murder on Main Street.
Murder on Main Street.
Murder on Sandusky or Winter Street. Actually, Winter Street, because both the Strand and
Jody,
Beanbag
we need to
Books.
get together because I think we've got this.
Well, what else do you have going on? We teased book clubs, so let's get into book clubs.
Yes, we have several adult book clubs going on right now. We have a sci-fi fantasy book club, and our next one will be February 5th, and we'll be reading, not watching. I'm still stuck on Dogman. We'll be reading Good Omens by Terry Pratchett.
Oh, fun.
okay.
Yeah, and then we'll have a silent book club. I don't know if anyone has ever done those.
No.
We have
I've
that
heard of
every
these.
second Sunday at 2:00 at the store. So no prep required. Just bring your book. We'll have chairs, bean bags, whatever you'd like to sit in and just read for an hour.
So it's just an active reading.
But
so if you want to people but not people.
Exactly.
This is
no
your
pressure to
opportunity.
talk. You can just be surrounded by fellow book lovers.
That is not my book club.
And yet I'm sitting here going, oh, Lloyd and I can't stop talking. We can never read in the same room. That would be really nice to read with people.
No, I would read something and then I would look up and be like, does anyone else want to talk about this? And then it just wouldn't work out for me.
I just couldn't bring a romance
not for
because when it
everybody.
gets spicy, my cheeks get
yeah,
red.
and you make the thing. Yeah, that's the same thing with I was reading Grady Hendrix' newest
Yes.
Witchcraft for Wayward Girls, and I know my face for some of those would not be something I'd want observed
It
by other
gives you
people.
away. You're like, nobody knows what is in this book
Right.
until they look at my face.
Yes, right. What you have more too? What are some of the other ones?
We have a spicy book club, spicy
There it is.
romance.
This is the one I was most curious about.
Yes, we meet February 13th at Oak and Brazen.
Nice.
The next one we'll be reading Season for Treason by Golden Angel.
Oh, yeah.
So we discuss the books that evening. It's always a fun time. Sometimes we actually discuss the books, but usually we diverge into other books that we've read or other books that we love. So
That's a little like Galentine's
Yes.
too, isn't the 13th Galentine's
would
Day?
be, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I misread. That's the 18th.
Oh, also
18th.
It'll be
Okay.
after.
You know what? Galentine's Day can be whenever you want
Galentine's
it.
Day is any day.
And speaking of Galentine's Day, we are having a Galentine's Day event at the bookstore with Tiny House, which is next door. So we'll be doing some fun bookish crafts. We'll be making little beaded bookmarks and bookish earrings, some Fourth Wing, and
That's amazing.
other type ones.
We probably intrigue people so much. How do they find you? Where's the best place to connect with you? Is it Facebook, Instagram, website?
Both Facebook and Instagram. We're pretty active on both of those. And we do have a website. You're able to purchase the books online and come and pick them up at the store if you don't have time to do both in the same day. And then also just stop by the store. We have a very friendly staff that's willing to help out and answer any questions.
And it's always just Beanbag Books at Beanbag Books.
Beanbag Books at beanbagbooks.com, at Beanbag Books on Facebook, and then beanbag_books on Instagram.
And then we've got to get into the one of the greatest partnerships that I love to do is when our friends bring authors, when we partner with things like the Central Library Consortium and we have author visits, they need to sell books. And so they need a bookseller to do that. So talk about the thing that we've got coming up on February 20th.
Yes, February 20th, we have Rick Steves coming to the Mershon at the Wexner Center in Columbus. His book, On the Hippie Trail?
On the Hippie Trail. It's brand new debut. Comes out, I think, like February 1st.
February 4th.
4th, yes.
So it's coming up next week. So we'll have books available for that. You can pre-order through us at beanbagbooks.com. You can stop in the store. We'll have some. And then we'll also have them whenever you purchase your ticket to go. There's a little option to also add your book at that point as well, and we'll have some on site as well.
Yeah, I think you'll want to purchase, if you want to purchase it with your ticket, you'll want to do it by this weekend. I think we're going to cut that off maybe early next week, just so you've got enough time to get your pre-orders ready.
Get the pre-orders in, and there's a discount if you order it ahead of time, so rather than at the event. So
that you can find tickets for Rick Steves on Ticketmaster. Just search for Rick Steves. It's the February 20th event. There are, 1 or 2 tickets available in the lower sections, but you can get the cheap seats and sit and still hear from Rick and still get the book and have the opportunity. I've heard that he does what is called a book mosh pit book signing, where he just
wait to see this.
he just twirls in a circle and signs books. So it's a guaranteed thing.
Right. Entertainment from beginning to end.
Exactly.
Yes.
We've got another opportunity that kind of stumbled into our laps, and we'll talk with these guests later this month. But March 5th, we're going to have a local author, Rebe Huntman, coming.
Yes, I love the story behind Rebe and her book and how we became familiar with finding her here in downtown Delaware.
Right.
My Mother in Havana is her book, and it comes out March 11th, I believe.
Yeah, she's doing the tour for it. Is it February?
Yeah, I think it is in February.
Oh, that's okay. About it. Yeah, she's doing the tour and she's promoting it all over the place. And one of our professors at Ohio Wesleyan got a pre-pub copy of it because he was studying just Cuba in general, and somebody said, yeah, maybe you should read this. Got really excited about it, and then poof, turns out she lives in downtown Delaware. And
amazing.
How do we not partner with somebody like that and uplift our local writers who are doing wonderful things? Yeah. So Jody's going to be on site for that event, which will be March 5th at the Delaware Main Library, sponsored by our friends of the library.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're so thankful for the partnerships that we have.
I know.
Well, and I love getting rid of the misconception that libraries and bookstores don't get along. We work as a team.
We definitely do. Yes.
So if you ever thought libraries and bookstores love each other.
That's right. We really do.
We were all book lovers.
Yes.
So. Is there anything else that we missed or anything else that you can tease? I know something's brewing, but I don't think we're ready to say anything about that yet.
Not quite yet. But there is one more book club. So if you're not an evening person, we do have one during the day. It's called Lattes and Literature, and we meet at Fresh Start at 11 a.m. And our next one is February 19th, and we'll be reading The Stationery Shop by Marjan Kamali. So we're really looking forward to that one. And for that with that book club, we change genres every book. Okay. So it's not one solid. So it's if you like to read different things, if you want to be introduced to some new titles, this would be the book club for you.
Oh, that's a good one. And I love lattes. And I love Fresh Start.
Right. And come on, that could be the first book in the series. A murder at the book club of lattes. And I'm really ready to go, Jody. We need to get together.
I think we can get this going, yeah.
Your creative minds are just cooking, and I can't wait to see what you come up with. But before we do that, let's talk about a couple things that we have happening at the Delaware County District Library this week. This weekend, we actually kick off a jigsaw puzzle swap at the Liberty branch. It's going to go for a week at that branch. So bring a puzzle, take a puzzle. Make sure you have all the pieces before you do it.
Make sure you have all the pieces. That's mean to bring in a puzzle missing a piece.
Oh, it's just cruel. Absolutely cruel. What else do we have happening, Molly?
You know, on Monday, February 3rd, Liberty, we had him last week. We've got the Learn About the Night Sky with an astrophysicist.
That's right.
So let's get out there and learn about the night sky with Don Stevens from Perkins Observatory. He was a fun guest last week, and I think that'll be exciting to get to.
Yeah, Donna's got so much knowledge up in that brain, and I can't wait for him to just bestow it upon everyone.
Yes.
We have also got Pause for Reading is back, so there's lots of Pause for Readings happening. Check the schedule. It is a registered event because those doggies can only take so many kiddos.
They
reading
can only take so many kiddos.
So go ahead and check our calendar. We for sure have one on Monday, February 10th. But there's lots of opportunities. We really spread them out so you have lots of opportunities to read with dogs. And I think I mentioned this on a previous program. It's also a good opportunity to socialize your child with animals if they are not necessarily, if they're reticent to dogs, because these dogs are trained. They're therapy dogs.
Professional dogs. We don't just go out and pick the cute dog on the street, though the temptation is there.
Absolutely. So practice your reading skills, practice your dog socialization. It's all a great opportunity, and it's all at your library. So thank you, Jody, for being our guest this morning.
Thanks for having me.
We're happy to finally get you on. Molly, thanks for co-hosting.
Always love being with you, Nicole.
Mark, thanks for the silence.
You're welcome.
And until next week, we will see you in the stacks.